want to make a video like completely separate on this and go a little bit more into it. So I think the reason why I'm making this though is that in me describing that I've been hypomanic like the past 2 months, and obviously engaging in behaviors that I shouldn't have be engaging in, for anybody, plus like someone who's bipolar, it feels almost like, now that I've connected it back to this attachment and trauma and like the inner child, it feels like I'm having like a temper tantrum. It's like to say like it feels like the inner child in me is like throwing a fit. You guys have watched me know that I've been dealing with I've been dealing with it my entire life, but it's really like resurfaced since I've graduated from college, and it's been rather annoying because it's like kind of hard to pinpoint, but I think I've got it. So before we jump in, I do want to say that I'm so thankful that you guys have been like reaching out and like, you know, DMs or like in the comments and just like asking how I am. I'm still hypomanic. Yeah, I'm still hypomanic. I'm still not taking any medication, but I will say that like my actions have started to change. So like a week ago, and like for the past 2 months, I guess, it's been like, oh, I'm hypomanic and I'm doing like all these like behaviors that like maybe aren't like the best behaviors / like are dangerous for me because it could lead to like a full-blown manic episode and psychosis and all that like bad stuff. I saw that as kind of being like a good thing in a sense, you know, the whole addicted to mania thing. I just want to say that like, one, thank you for you know, sharing their support and like tips and all of that, but also that like I made it seem like it was super bad, and I mean it was not super bad, but like I'm extremely happy. Like again, I've never been this happy before, or at least this happy for this long period of time. And I think a big part of it is like understanding that like true happiness isn't like you're happy like all the time, like 24/7. Like you have no other emotions but happiness. Like I think that being healthy and like being a normal human being means like feeling emotions. So really being in touch with your emotions. Like it's okay to feel sad, it's okay to feel angry, it's okay to feel jealous, it's okay to feel all of those things. It's just that like, you know, obviously sadness is different than depression, happiness is different from mania, and it's really trying not to get to those extremes / like you don't want to like linger in like anger forever. I think that's when it becomes unhealthy, and you know, you can imagine where all that stuff leads to. So I'm doing great. You know, I'm going through it obviously, but that's the whole point. I'm going through it. I know everything in the end is gonna be okay because it has to, right? But yeah, I'm good, you guys. You know, at least today is a good day, and that's all that really matters, staying in the present. So, you know, anxieties, coping with severe anxiety, and what does that look like? What does that mean? I think that, like, for me, I mean, like, not to belittle anyone's, like, story or personal experiences or, like, what they're feeling, just speaking for myself, but I, in high school, thought I had anxiety, like, anxiety around tests, or like, you know, I was nervous, you know, or whatever. I think that was nervousness, and I think everyone has some type of anxiety, some type of nervousness throughout their lives, like just about with anything. It's just like natural to be a human being. It wasn't until college where I was like, oh no, this is what anxiety is. And it was like panic attacks multiple times a day, like 4 or 5 times a day sometimes, and it like physically was tiring, it physically sucked. Like when something involuntarily stops your body, I literally was frozen. So it like the anxiety that I was experiencing, and sometimes it wasn't even with panic attacks. I don't have them now. I have more anxiety attacks than panic attacks. But anxiety that like freezes your body, freezes your mental processes. Actually, no, it doesn't freeze at least for me, it didn't freeze my mental process. Like I was darting 1,000 different ways and freaking out. But like my body was just like frozen, did not know what to do. That can be annoying when you're like in the middle of a conversation, or like when you're trying to go out with friends, or like when you're just trying to like live life like a normal person, and then anxiety gets in the way at the randomest of times, more so that like you're not even expecting it. It's just like, oh, I have anxiety over this for some reason. That's interesting. Building on that in terms of like attachment disorder and like childhood trauma and all that jazz, I think these things because of like very concrete things. Like I said, the phone. I remember like a lot of times my mother, I would call her and she just like either her phone would be off. And if her phone was off, I mean, she didn't pay it, and like she could be God knows where, or like she just didn't want to answer because she felt some type of way about like me. She hasn't talked to me like in a while, so maybe that's why. I don't know. I went through like my childhood. I loved my mom. She could do no wrong. I still feel the same way. But like there were times where like I didn't see her or like hear from her for like a year and a half. It could be months, it could be weeks, and like it was always sporadic. So it could be like 2 years, like a good relationship with her, she's coming around, and then like all of a sudden, not like without warning. It's not like, oh, I'm going somewhere, or like, oh, I'm doing bad. It would literally be like, I'm gonna pick you up from school today, and then like she would not be there. I remember we threw cause I lived, my aunt and uncle adopted me. We threw like a surprise birthday party for her. And I remember staying up all night because she was supposed to come by. She said she was gonna come by. We blew up balloons and everything, and like she just never came by, and I stood up all night waiting for her. Oh, it's making me sad. I stood up all night waiting for her with my aunt, and she just never came. So that was like, it's things like that happened that like make me feel this way. I think like when it comes to like food, I've like talked about this in the sense that like I wouldn't say it's anorexia necessarily. I'm not a doctor, but like disordered eating. So like I can go 6 months out of the year and like really like be super like health conscious and like super like body weight conscious, and like looking at myself and being like, oh, you like are like a fat like slob or something like that. I think that my anxiety around food and like that way kind of relates to the fact that like if I feel like if I'm fat, then like I'm placing a burden on like those around me, which is really fucked up. Yeah, to say so. I feel bad for saying that out loud, but it feels like, if like I'm fat, like my friends won't want to hang out with me because like I don't mean this, you guys, but in my mind I'm thinking like because I'm gross, and like because like people don't like larger people. It triggers that anxiety of like I don't want people to leave, like I want that attachment, so like I have to look my best because people only want to be around people who look good. So if I look gross, then like goodbye people. Another thing that like I've kind of connected in terms of like my anxiety and like attachment disorder, looking at like letting people down. So as a kid, because I always felt that like things were my fault, like people not like showing up or people leaving, and then ultimately people dying. Anyway, that like severance of like relationships, I always felt either directly or indirectly was my fault. So when I have to cancel plans, or when I realize like I double book so many things because it's so hard for me to say no. Like people will be like, what are you doing this weekend? Nothing, when I've said like nothing to like 10 people. So like, I don't know why I do that to myself, because I just end up stressing myself out. I get like super like so much anxiety that I start freaking out, and I think that over time has just really like solidified in me that like my inner child didn't get what it needed. I'm not sure if you guys have heard about like the inner child. I'm not really sure if it's called the inner child theory or like what the inner child means in terms of like trauma and attachment, but this is how I understand it. So there's me as an adult that has grown up, obviously, but within all of us there is like sort of those like primal instincts or like childlike behavior. We all kind of go back to it at various points in our lives. I want to make a video like completely separate on this and go a little bit more into it. So the reason why I'm making this though is that in me describing that I've been hypomanic like the past 2 months, and obviously engaging in behaviors that I shouldn't have be engaging in, for anybody, plus like someone who's bipolar, it feels almost like, now that I've connected it back to this attachment and trauma and like the inner child, it feels like I'm having like a temper tantrum. It's like to say like it feels like the inner child in me is like throwing a fit. I've been feeling a lot of anger towards like my parents, not directly but like kind of directly, in the sense that like looking back on it, like all the things that happened throughout the court cases and like people yelling and people cussing each other out and like all the nasty things that were said, like I understand it, but like I understand it's like so well that like I now see that like it could have been all avoided, in my mind, especially like when there's a 4-year-old, like no matter what age, and it's traumatic for everybody. I mean, they're probably traumatized too, but like as a 6-year-old kid, I feel like they should have done more to like be a more cohesive unit. And I was always told that like it's like complicated, or like it's like you know, it's like this huge thing. And it's like, no, it's really not. Now that I've gotten older, it's like, it was pretty fucking like clear and cut and dry and like, period. I'm like pissed and I don't really know what to do with that. And I think like it's my inner child that's kind of like, I want to be nurtured. Like I'm pissed. So like, I'm just gonna like fucking do whatever, like what I want. I don't know. And that's sort of like how I feel. So I think a big part of this is like, it's really cool in the sense that like, I'm kind of trying to do like the deep discovery. I feel like that makes a lot more sense and I connect to those emotions a lot more. And maybe that's sort of what turned this whole thing around. Like I'm still hypomanic, still don't want to take medication. But I'm not like last week where I was like, I'm fine with being unhealthy. Like it's great. Like I like don't feel that way anymore. I obviously want to be healthy. I've been trying to do good things the last 48 hours. But yeah, so more on the inner child and attachment disorder / trauma and all of that. I make a separate video, but I just wanted to kind of jump on and like kind of explain this revelation to y'all, because I feel like I finally, you know, might have like found something. Yeah, I'm throwing like a inner child tantrum, and it's technically an adult tantrum because I'm an adult, but like it operates in the same way. Like I want them to like care, and I want them to say sorry, and I like won't do life until they do. Something like that. I don't really know what I want. Anyway, I'm rambling. I feel like I'm always ramble at the end of videos, but if you guys can relate to this, please comment and share. I love to hear from y'all, like what y'all are going through, or if this makes sense to any of you guys, or if I just sound like I'm batshit crazy. All right, y'all, new videos hopefully later this week, or new video later this week, not videos. Be very careful. All right, peace, love, and happiness to all. If you're on the East Coast, stay safe with like the hurricane, tropical storm shit. It's out here. And remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. You guys are amazing. I love y'all. Peace.